Fire them up. Here we go. It is Monday, September 15th, 2025, and you are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. And we're streaming on Rumble. We're streaming on X. We're streaming on YouTube, and we are streaming at the mothership, WYAB.com. If you can't get our radio signal, you can always tune in another way, and we appreciate that. You know what? This last week is such a blur, and there's so much on my mind and on my heart. And you cannot kill a Christian. You can't. You might change their address, but you can't kill a Christian. And Hebrews 4 says, and though his faith, although he died, he still speaks. And that's Charlie Kirk. And this is a hot take, and this is just going to be a week full of hot takes. But it is not too far off to believe that Charlie Kirk, it's obvious he's a martyr, but maybe only Stephen is the only other martyr who's probably more popular than Charlie as a martyr. So many people have turned to the Lord because of Charlie. And it's because people like we were talking with Clay Edwards in the last hour, some of these people who are preaching pure venom, pure hate, and people are just waking up to it. And I have to tell everybody, I had a really good weekend considering the events. The people who slipped into my DMs asking me, Andy, what's the difference between a New King James and a King James? What do I have to wear to church? I've never gone before. What kind of church should I go to? I got 8 or 10 of those. And let me tell you, that brought true joy. Happy birthday to Life Church, 20 years old this week. I think that's awesome. We're continuing to rock and roll in Brandon. And I have so much to speak on and so much to talk about. In the next segment, I think I'm going to talk about the Charlie Kirk gun quote. And the thing with the gun quote is that it is so long and it is nuanced that you just can't sit there and read it and say, oh, that's the quote. Now, if you go to the liberal or left side of the perspective, they'll try to give you a snap quote and try to dissect it into just a small little piece. But that's not how this works. That's not how life works. I think there's a lot of us who wish life worked like that, to where we could go ahead and, perhaps say a little bit and that would just set our life path forward. But life is never that easy. It's never that easy. But let's talk about Charlie Kirk and our favorite RFK Jr. He's a great dude, and he was at the Kennedy Center. And if we know anything about the Kennedy family, we do know that they've experienced terrible loss through political assassination. And we need, or it's my opinion that I feel that this guy really drives it home. And I'm just going to play the whole minute and 41 seconds, and then we'll break it down.
And I had a conversation once with Charlie where we were talking about the danger that we both face from challenging entrenched interests. And he asked me if I was scared to die. And I said to him, there's a lot worse things than dying. And one of those, the chief among those, is losing our constitutional rights and having our children raised in slavery. And I said to him at that time, I said, sometimes our only consolation is that we can die with our boots on. We can die fighting for these things. Charlie gave his life so that the rest of us would not have to suffer those fates worse than death. Now it's our job. He's no longer there to lead us, to rush in and fill the breach and win this battle for our country, for God, and for our families. Thank you all.
And he just walks off the stage like a G. See, there's still hope for our country. Robert Kennedy Jr. is a blessing to this country and to this administration. But only Robert F. Kennedy Jr. could pull off something like that. We all know his walk, painful walk. And he just came out and told it like it was. And I really love the way he speaks. I know he's got a speech disability. And I know that I sound kind of weird today. I lost another tooth last night. I'll get it fixed tomorrow. We'll be all right. But the way he just delivered those comments and then he just walked off the stage. He didn't want any applause for himself. He just walked off. And I think that's so powerful because what I don't want to have happen here, and it's happening. I feel it. My friends feel it. I don't want us to celebrate people who fool around and find out. I know it feels good. It's great. If you go on my X account, you'll see I retweet people who said bad things because I want Secretary of War and people like that to find out about them so that they can get out of our military. We don't need them there. But it's important that we celebrate Charlie and his faith more than we celebrate the people who are fooling around and finding out. And I know that's a hot take, and I know it's a little bit different than a lot of people think, but that's just where my heart is. And the relationship that we have with each other in this audience, if I don't come out and say it how I'm feeling it, I think I lose my credibility with you all, and I never want that. So as we're going through the show today and the week, we're going to find out there are a lot of people who are losing their jobs, and they need to lose their jobs. But at the same time, if we are fueling our own fire, if we are fueling our fire with worldly things, passion like that, and we're not fueling it with spiritual fire, with spiritual fuel, then it's ultimately going to take us somewhere we don't want to be. I promise you that. You can only run on anger and hate so long. And I realize so many of my dear friends are so furious, enraged, angry. And we don't want to do that. Who wants to dwell in that? And look, I'm going to play this probably 100 times between now and when Turning Point USA comes to the Ole Miss. I'm not sure exactly when that is, but I am in communications with Jacob from Turning Point. And when that all gets flushed out, we're going to definitely do something for that. I want to honor Charlie. Many of you know he was a friend, not a close friend, wasn't in the inner circle, not claiming that. But I can say I was there on day one. Listen to Charlie talk about his faith. If YouTube will do what it needs to do.
You want to be remembered. I mean, if I die, everything just goes away. How would you, if you could be associated with one thing, how would you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing. Most important thing is my faith.
You want to be remembered.
I mean, if I
Think about that. The most important thing on Charlie's mind wasn't Turning Point USA. It wasn't his family. It wasn't the country. It was his faith in Christ. Everybody knows it. And so as we work through the week and we work to sort out our feelings, and you know what? You are not wrong for being fired up. You are not wrong for anger. And people who say that you are wrong for that, I'm not saying that. You have a place to be that way, but you've gotta move on, and you can't celebrate other people's misery like that. Now, some people can and get away with it, and I'm not condemning them or saying anything like that. I'm just saying I genuinely believe if you've watched Charlie Kirk long enough, he would take a laugh at some stuff, but he wouldn't dwell in it. He would not dwell in it at all. He was always trying to find that middle ground. He was always trying to reach out to the other side to figure out how to build a bridge, not burn it to the ground. And I'll tell you what, I heard that pastor this morning. I wrote down his name. I'm gonna listen to him later. I genuinely wanna hear one of those sermons 'cause maybe I'm so naive, and I've visited black churches, but I've never heard nothing like that. And and that's a quick clip from a sermon, but my goodness gracious, how can you come out of a congregation feeling better after all that? And yes, everybody's saying, "Oh, the left is one way, the right is the other way." And the news media, we all know they are full of hot garbage. CNN, MSNBC/MS Now/BS Always is in the tank. I genuinely think they could be gone by Thanksgiving, which would be a blessing. There are so many um, bits, clips that were sent to me about some of these people who were celebrating Charlie Kirk dying, and I just don't wanna do it. I genuinely feel that there are other things that we can look at and talk about and point out to each other. And again, I didn't even talk about what the show's all about. It's about equipping the saints. Who are the saints? You all are the saints. Church attendance it just blew up this weekend. People going out and buying Bibles. The Bible was already the number one book ever sold, and now you got people saying, "Do I need a new King James? Do I need a King James? Maybe I need a ESV and a NASB. Maybe I need all four, a reference Bible." And I'm like, man, let's just sit here and dwell in the book of John for a little bit. Let's just get that all figured out first, and we'll get you where you need to be. And it is so refreshing to me to hearing some of these kids go to church for the first time in their lives, and oh, let me tell you something, church. You are gonna have people walk through your doors who look nothing like you. They're gonna have tattoos and weird haircuts and piercings in their face, and you need to love them. They've been twisted, they've been turned, they've been abused, they've been neglected, they've been lied to, not just about whatever walk they're doing, but with the gospel. And it's great. I think, what Clay Edwards is doing with a Charlie Kirk Memorial Watch Party, wherever that's gonna be, that's gonna be great. I pray that a lot of people who maybe don't go to church every Sunday go there and check it out, because when you talk about Charlie's Memorial, it's gonna be about faith, family, and country. That's what it's gonna be, and when we get back, we're gonna get into this gun business because the truth of the matter is, unless you actually hear the whole quote, you're just a mind-numbed robot of the left. But when you get the facts, you see it's a lot different. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We are off and running. Oh, yeah. It is the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. And our church father is Pastor Franco, but his church father was Pastor Rod Aguilard. And I love that man. He's a great man. And he posted this. Charlie Kirk stated that he was doing what pastors should be doing. And I totally agree. As pastors, we need to stop worrying about who we offend and the numbers. We need to go outside the walls of a church building and engage evil in the public square, speaking the truth in love. That's the key, in love. The move of God is in our high school and in our college campuses. Let's join. I agree with you, Brother Rod. It's always great to get Rod on and mention him on the radio. So I promised you that I would read you the Charlie Kirk quote on guns that is being polluted and I mean, it's the right word for it, bastardized. That is the correct word for it. And I don't want people to not have the information, be equipped. So here it goes. And I'll put this out on my X account and on my Facebook account. I don't like using Facebook, but I realize there's a lot of communication going on there. So here is the full answer to Charlie being asked about should we reduce or limit the Second Amendment. Yeah, it's a great question. Thank you. So I'm a big Second Amendment fan, but I think most politicians are cowards when it comes to defending why we have a Second Amendment. This is why I would not be a good politician, or maybe I would. I don't know, because I actually speak my mind. The Second Amendment is not about hunting. I love hunting. The Second Amendment is not even about personal defense. That is important. The Second Amendment is there, God forbid, so that you can defend yourself against a tyrannical government. And if that talk scares you, wow, that's radical, Charlie. I don't know about that. Well, then you have not really read any of the literature of our founding fathers. Number two, you've not read the 20th century history. You're just not living in Narnia. By the way, if you're actually living in Narnia, you would be wiser than whatever you're living now, because C.S. Lewis was really smart. So I don't know what alternate universe you're living in. You just don't want to face reality that governments tend to get tyrannical and that people need the ability to protect themselves and their communities and their families. Now, we must also be real. We must be honest with the population. Having an armed citizenry comes with a price, and that is part of liberty. Driving comes with a price. 50,000, 50,000, 50,000 people die on the road every year. That's a price. You get rid of driving. If you got rid of driving, you'd have 50,000 less auto fatalities. But we have decided that would the benefit of driving, speed, accessibility, mobility, having products, services, is worth the cost of 55,000 people dying. So dying on the road. So we need to be very clear that you're not going to get that gun deaths to zero. It will not happen. You could significantly reduce them, though, and having more fathers in the home by having more armed guards in front of our schools. We should have an honest and clear reductionist view of gun violence, but we should not have a utopian one. God, it's so good. You will never live in a society where you can have an armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun death. That's nonsense. It's drivel. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that you can live in the Second Amendment to protect the other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It's rational. Nobody talks like this. They live in the complete alternate universe. So then, how do you reduce? It's very simple. People say, "Oh, Charlie, how do you stop school shootings?" I don't know. How did we stop shootings at baseball games? Because we have armed guards outside the baseball games. That's why. How did we stop the shootings at airports? We have armed guards outside the airports. How do we stop all the shootings at the banks? We have armed guards outside of the banks. How do we stop the shootings at the gun shows? Notice there's not a lot of mass shootings at the gun shows. There's all these guns because everyone's armed. If our money and our sporting events and our airplanes have armed guards, why don't our children? Ladies and gentlemen, That is why they killed Charlie Kirk. That's why they murdered him. That's why they assassinated him. Charlie could just recite all this and pull this all down. I mean, I'm very truthful. I have to do hours of show prep to make sure that I'm ready to go. And Charlie's just spitting facts in speeches, dare I say sermons like this. And then you have some knucklehead on CNN basically reading one little sentence of what I've just read to you and completely twisting what he said. It hurts to lose Charlie, especially the way we lost him. But make no mistake about it. He was doing what he loved, and he was doing what he believed, and he was grounded in faith. And as things go on, and as we move farther away from the actual event itself, you are going to see less and less placed on his faith and more talking about political violence and how we need to end political violence. You go out and you can look at a statement from AOC, from Roger Wicker, from Mitch McConnell, from Chuck Schumer, from anybody, and they'll all say the same thing. Political violence. Look, go search it out. Prove me wrong. It's the game plan. It's like the Matrix is saying, "Oh, we got to go ahead and frame it this way." And we can't say it too vocally right now because it's too close to the event, but we can start planting the seeds for this. And they're going to try to use Charlie's own words where he was valiantly defending the Second Amendment against the Second Amendment. And we cannot let that happen. It takes all of us. And here's the worst part about it is if people just spend 5 minutes researching just one of the crazy lies that's been coming out of the mainstream media, and we all kind of work together, we could combat all this. We could just blow right through it. And most of us, and I am sure there are so many more of you out there who paid attention this weekend. I'd be truthful with you. I pretty much shut my phone off all weekend. I have almost zero internet time. I really wanted to focus on my family. Saturday was a big rest day for me, and I didn't want to saturate with myself. But I did talk to some friends on Sunday afternoon, and they were talking about how tired they were of just scrolling and trying to find out the latest and greatest on what's happening with Charlie. And I just thought to myself, God, thank you for blessing me with the ability to just turn my phone off. You know, I unplugged from society so much this week. I did not even watch my world famous Arsenal whoop up on Nottingham Forest 3-0 this weekend. I didn't even see a minute. I didn't watch any sports. I just kind of disconnected. The Sweet Bee loved the flowers. Sweet Bee's amazing. You know what we did? Just being truthful with you, we listened to a Bible study, and we binge watched The Chosen, and we loved on our animals. Dogs are great, aren't they? Especially if they're a big dog, like Ezekiel, 125 pounds. Big baby. Do not lose sight of what Charlie was fighting for. If you are so inclined to be about Charlie right now, I realize that there are a lot of people who love Charlie who didn't necessarily understand the faith component of his belief system. And you're going to hear a lot about that, especially on this show. That's going to be the number one point I'm going to drive home. I know my friends on the radio, they're going to drive home all those other political points. And that's what's so great about WYAB, isn't it? Man, I was driving into work this morning listening to Clay and just bombs. Kim in the evenings, bombs. Sean and Lindsay, drop bombs. WYAB is the best thing going in Mississippi when it comes to real news and opinion. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back.
And then you see how much violence there's on the left, with our friend Charlie Cook getting murdered in cold blood this week, and people on the left celebrating it openly. The left is the party of murder and celebrating murder.
Yeah, let's get them. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. You know, Charlie Kirk just this past year went to England and to Oxford, where he actually got to debate some of these crazy leftists. And it's insane to me, but this guy, who is the president of the Oxford Union, Mario Nafal, maybe. Forgive me, names from never my strong point, never will be. But listen to what they're teaching their kids. And this is in Oxford, where you're supposed to be all civilized and diplomatic and talk about our solutions.
To effectively create change in the world we desire. Inside Prop will argue that at times there is simply nothing else that can be required other than violent retaliation. And this is a view I wholeheartedly agree with.
What? You wholeheartedly agree with having to take violence? What are you thinking? What is this young skull full of mush actually thinking? Does he realize that violence begets violence? That's why so many of us who are on the right, whether we have a large station in life or a smaller one, we're saying, don't do it. Don't take violent action. It's not going to do anybody any good. And yet we have these thought leaders out there on the left doing that. And I'm going to start this clip over again.
To effectively create change in the world we desire. Inside Prop will argue that...
Wait, I got to stop. What kind of world do you desire, dude? Where everybody's the same? Where nobody's allowed to reach their potential? Where everybody gets a standard amount of food and a standard amount of money? Where everybody is just the same? There's no individuality? This guy is nuts.
At times, there is simply nothing else that can be required other than violent retaliation. And this is a view I wholeheartedly agree with. The view that some institutions are too broken, too aggressive, too oppressive to be reformed. Like cancers of our society, they must and they should be taken down by any means necessary.
Not by any means necessary, but I do agree with him that some things should be taken down, like the National Education Association and the Department of Education. Exhibit 1. This is from the New York Post. Teacher allegedly shows Charlie Kirk assassination video to 10 and 11-year-olds, told students he deserved to be killed. Let me tell you something, and you're going to hear me get pretty fired up over this. When you see someone die, it changes you, man. And not just like car wrecks are gruesome, fires are gruesome, but when you see somebody get shot, dude, it changes you. It changes you chemically instantly. And for all those people who were in attendance in Utah, the PTSD, first of all, it's not going to be a disorder. It's just post-traumatic stress. The human brain is not equipped to look at images like that. Adults who've been trained to go to war have a hard time dealing with that. What about a bunch of campus kids who just to go to hear about a debate? They're not expecting anything like that. Those minds are altered forever to the negative. And then you're going into 10 and 11-year-old classrooms and you're teaching this stuff? Our education system is a cancer. This should be the poster child for homeschooling, private schooling, and getting rid of all these teachers who have no business being in front of our kids teaching things. A public school teacher has been suspended after allegedly showing a video of Charlie Kirk's assassination to 10 students as young as 10 in his class, authorities said. The teacher also suggested that Kirk deserved to be killed and gave the young students a speech about anti-fascism and transgender issues, according to the report. And someone said, this was in Canada. Yeah, it happened here too. It's brutal, man. Our education system, from the very bottom to the top, is all screwed up. You know, we're pushing for education reform here in Mississippi. We should. And by the way, I know I disagree. I that I have conservatives who disagree with me, but Clay Edwards is right when he talks about the public school transfer outside of the jurisdiction. That has to be in there. If you want to go public school inside that jurisdiction, inside that school district that you're living in, hey, I'm okay with that. But if you're going to go outside of that, there needs to be constraints on that. That's just the way it is. Someone's asking me, can I post that on X? That you texters are amazing. Some of you kind of drive me nuts a little bit, but some of you are right on point. So if you go to my X account, which is at Andrew Gosser, AndrewGasser, you can see the story there. I'm not making it up. I don't do that. If anything, the events that took place last week in Utah have shown us that we need to get back to our faith. And one thing that I wish I would have done this weekend that I didn't, but there is so much that they're not teaching us about our nation. Do you know that 9 of the original 13 colonies demanded that if you were running for office, you had to have a declaration of faith? Not just any faith, the Christian faith, unless you were in Maryland. In Maryland, if you were Catholic, you could still sign a faith statement that way. Think about that. People are saying this country wasn't founded on Christianity. You know why it wasn't spoken about as much as it was? Was because everybody was a Christian. Sure, there were onesies and twosies elsewhere, but that was the moral code that this country was founded upon. Well, Andrew, there was Savior back there. Yep, our founding fathers knew that, and they mitigated it as much as they could. And as soon as we could possibly fight that war, we did, and we got rid of it quicker than any other country on this planet. That's the facts. I'll bring those receipts too. And these people, and it's not even ethnicity problem. It's not a black thing or a white thing. It is a good versus evil thing. It's a good versus evil thing. And the beautiful thing about all of this is that the kids get it. The Zoomers and the Gen Alpha kids, they get it. They understand. And if there's anything that any of us can do, we need to go ahead and inspire these kids out there. You know, Turning Point USA. And people are like, Andy, this is just reported on the internet. Well, some say 18,000 new chapters of Turning Point USA started up. Some say 32,000. I texted my man at Turning Point USA and didn't get back to me, but they're busy. And to all my friends who are in Turning Point USA, God bless you. I don't know how you're back to work so quick, but it's beautiful stuff. I tell you what, it would be great if we just had a bunch of Turning Point USA people as precinct delegates for both the Democrat and the Republican Party. You would see things change in Mississippi real quick. And that's the political side of it, but I'm going to continue to stick to the faith side of it. When I get back, I need to have an official correction, and I will correct the error. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Oh, yeah. It's the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. As one of the texters said, I did not adequately advertise the call-in number this hour. That's because I had a lot to say. The number is 601-879-0002. Text line is 601-879-5060. In the third hour of the Clay Edwards Show, which was awesome, I tried to quote Ephesians 22-26, and I am just saying I quoted that wrong, and I do not want to steer anybody astray. So in some versions of the Bible, it says obeys. Some versions of the Bible, it says submit. But it says, wives, submit to your own husbands as to the Lord. And then a few verses down, it says, husband, love your wives as Christ loved the church, and he gave himself up for her. It's so much more powerful than just wives obey your husbands. That's all that gets done. And then, you know what? There goes that crazy feminism, just like hooking onto a 5-pound bass and it's just going away. Not even, no, not a 5-pound bass, more like a 100-pound tuna. Friggin' out of there, right? That's why it's so important for us who are trying to put our faith before everything else. We got to get it right. And it's okay not to get it right 100% of the time, but go back and correct that error. I mean, that's just a great saying in life in general. You know, I don't know anybody who's gotten everything 100% correct all the time. I've never met that person in the flesh. I've met him in the spirit. But if you correct your own mistakes, it just makes life so much easier. And I wanted to get that off my chest a little bit. There's so many other things happening. I continuously check for updates, and people are all excited about TikTok apparently being sold and converted, or more of a free speech platform. I'm not even worried about TikTok. I do have one. I should probably use it more. I could probably help grow the audience more, and maybe after I figure out this next little phase of my life, I will get that there. But I'm more concerned about the free speech right here in America, and what's being pushed down our throats. I mean, you could even see it in the Facebook algorithm. If there was a way to get a left point of view out there, which isn't necessarily bad in and of itself, but it was so fake and so false that it was just rubbish. And you should be able to go out on Facebook and X and lie your behind off. But just like that, Ole Miss former Ole Miss employee found out, you can have freedom of speech, but that does not mean freedom of consequence. And I'm glad she's gone. She can move on. I hope she repents and finds another way to go about her life with her husband. There will be people out there who find out what she's doing, and they will go down a path where they're just going to be like, you know what, this person needs to feel a little bit more pain, so I'm going to go out there and figure out where she's working and make sure that things don't work there very well at all. I don't subscribe to that. That's not the way I roll, but I realize that's how some people do it. I think there's a better way. I think it's great that there's a website out or a database out there tracking all of these people, and they will get brought to justice. They will have consequences for just the nastiness. There's no room for being that nasty in a schoolroom, in a classroom. There's none. And these people who are out here dancing on the grave, nah, man, nah. Look, we got a whole nother hour to go. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We're streaming on Rumble. We're streaming on X. We're streaming on YouTube and at WYAB.com. Yes, yes, you are. You are tuned in to hour number 2 of the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. It is Monday, the 15th of September, 2025. You are living in reality. You're not in the Matrix. If you want to be part of the program today, the number is 601-879-0002. And if you want to continue to text, that number is 601-879-5060. And look, we are streaming on Rumble. We are streaming on X. We're streaming on YouTube. And we're streaming at the mothership, WYAB.com. You can listen to us there if you can't pick up the radio signal. We really do appreciate all of you who support us on the radio. Hebrews 11:4. I'm going to be saying this for a while. And through his faith, although he died, he still speaks. And they got our good friend, but they can't kill his message. They can't kill his spirit. And it continues to grow and grow. And this was just sent in to me. I kind of talked a little bit about it in the last hour about how there's all this turmoil in England and there's these marches, and Elon Musk actually got into it a little bit. And I want people to listen to this, and then let's have a discussion about it.
And then you see how much violence there's on the left, with our friend Charlie Cook getting murdered in cold blood this week, and people on the left celebrating it openly.
And what you have there is the people marching in England, and it's great because not only are there English flags there's British flags. There's a difference between the two flags. There's the Scottish flag, and people are cheering for Charlie Kirk. They know about Charlie in England. They know about Charlie everywhere. And the world saw Charlie Kirk get martyred for his faith. Make no mistake about it.
The left is the party of murder and celebrating murder. I mean, let that sink in for a minute. That's who we're dealing with here. That is who we're dealing with.
Brother Elon, I know you had a go at forming a third political party. Let's just be truthful about that. You'd probably take that one back if you could. But you know what you could do, my man? You could call up Turning Point USA and say, hey, what can we do together? Because I'll tell you what, you really want to make a change in the United States of America, that would be the way to do it. My goodness. I could just imagine. I'm just thinking about my friends in Turning Point Action, and if they had some of the resources. The backbone is there. 18,000 new chapters. I mean, that's high schools. That's colleges. That's middle schools. That's got to be around the globe. That's everywhere. That's what's really exciting to me, is that people are waking up to this, and man, somebody shared this with me. He was if you know what a shirt is in the Air Force, it was my former shirt. He's retired, great dude. And he goes, if you think we're angry now, or if you think things are angry now, just wait till those people get involved who just wanted to be left alone. And I'm like, you got to stop that. We can't be involved in that. You got to be involved, but not for the wrong reasons. You want to politically remove somebody, that's great. But I genuinely feel it's the responsibility of all of us to make sure that when we do things, we do it in a way that honors our laws, our customs, our traditions, and our faith. we can't get that, because I'm telling you this, the new mainstream media and the left, they're just waiting. They're just waiting for something to kick off. Honestly, I would not be surprised if there was a false flag. And look, there's lots of black helicopter rumors going around right now. I'm just telling you, I'm not here for it. If you're going down that road, you can subscribe to that, but please don't drag me along with it. I'm just not there. And I know that's going to irritate some people, but I just don't have, I just don't even want to entertain it. But you can, and I won't hold it against you for it. It's just not for me. And it's important that we point out every chance we get how we have to be peaceful when we do this. If we don't, it's going to end up being a bad day, and our society will only fall further and further into the abyss. I want something that I meant to do in the first hour that I didn't. I kind of touched on it a little bit with the school teacher showing Charlie's martyrdom and assassination and murder. Be careful what you search for. I just got another note just saying I opened up something that wasn't what it was, and I didn't need to see that. And you don't. And unfortunately, there are people out there who enjoy making other people miserable. You know, this morning, someone who has taken a lot of grief who shouldn't have is Kash Patel. And he had this update today. It's 1 minute and 19 seconds. And you know what? I'm going to play it.
We flexed all resources the FBI had and surged multiple air assets as soon as this shooting occurred. We were cycling in agents, evidence response technicians, hostage rescue technicians, and special operators in and out of Utah, cycling evidence back and forth on these FBI planes as soon as we could so that there was no delay. And what we did once I got there, along with the deputy on the ground around 5 p.m. local on September 11th, was walk the entire crime scene, including the foots the suspect himself took. And what we learned was there was evidence, DNA evidence that could be collected and had been collected, including a screwdriver that was found on the rooftop. Also, we went over to the scene in the wooded area where the firearm was discarded. And the firearm had a towel wrapped around it. It's important. I'll get back to that later. I even walked into the wooded area in the ravine, so I knew from my investigative experience what I could bring to the table and what decisions I needed to make. And having the support of President Trump and the full support of the White House was what we needed for these resources to happen. And I can report today that the DNA hits from the towel that was wrapped around the firearm and the DNA on the screwdriver are positively processed for the suspect in custody.
You know, Kash takes so much grief for so much stuff, but he's doing what needs to be done in Utah, and I'm grateful for it. I know we're not where we want to be on a couple other places. I don't even want to bring that attention this week. We just need to focus on bringing this guy to justice. And the truth of the matter is, I'm so proud of this show because we haven't talked about the person who committed the crime or all of that craziness. We've been able to focus on the positive things that Charlie has done and is doing right now. And that's where the goal of this show is. That is where I feel we really need to be focused, not just in America, but in Mississippi and in the greater Jackson area. Focusing on the good things that we can do to improve our neighborhoods, improving our communities, improving our political system. The things that happen in Utah, not going to be able to do too much. And one of the texters just texted in, did you see what the Utah governor just said? And he sent me a text, and I promised to look at that during the break, but I'm not even going to go into that right now. The truth of the matter is that the FBI has got a suspect with the DNA, with all of the gun, with the the weapon, with supporting supporting witnesses who have talked to the FBI. I do realize that there is a whole nother avenue you can go down if you choose to, but that's just not happening for me. The last thing that I want to talk about, but just last week, do you remember those questions I was talking about? Left-wing violence, left-wing authoritism. We just talked about that last week. I can't remember if it was Tuesday or Wednesday. Gosh, I really hope it wasn't Wednesday. But I want to get back to those questions because they always say that hindsight is 20/20, but we can left-wing authoritism. There we go. We're getting there. It'll be just a hot minute while I get to the questions. You think about, this is a study coming out of Rutgers, if you remember this. We need to replace the established order by any means necessary. We just had that Oxford leftist stated as much. 67%. Deep down, just about all conservatives are racist, sexist, and homophobic. 78%. Again, Clay Edwards just had that whole litany of stuff texted to me. I'm not going to go through it again, but it's proving itself. It's proving itself. And the truth of the matter is, this left-wing authoritism is such a small percentage of people. Now, there's a lot of people who are on the left, but when they actually see stuff like this, they walk away. You can go on X and see, in Facebook, and see numerous videos of people just walking away from the left. I'm looking for the violence question. I don't see it in front of me. People who are intolerant of others do not deserve freedom or deserve freedom of speech. 60%. It is more important, or getting rid of inequality is more important than protecting the so-called right free to speech. It's the left-wing authoritism is not just in our schools. It's not just in our colleges or high schools or middle schools. It's all the way at the bottom. And unfortunately, it's taken the death of Charlie Kirk to get that pointed out. When we get back, we've got a lot more to talk about, including, I feel, one of the main reasons that they got rid of Charlie, which has been quantified now. You're listening to the Andrew Gossett Show on 103.9 WYAB. And we are back on the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. So, CNN's best political talent, in my opinion, is Harry Enton, the pollster. And he came out with some data on Charlie Kirk. And I want to play it for you because I think it really illustrates why the left, why, and it's bigger than just the Democrats and the American left. This has got global implications here. Why they had to get rid of Charlie Kirk, why they had to murder him. And you're going to find out right here, it's because he was effective at what he did.
As we remember Charlie Kirk, I think, of course, it's important to note that one of his main missions was to engage with and bring younger folks over to the conservative side of the aisle. And based upon the results of the last presidential election, I think we can say he was quite successful in doing so. What are we talking about? Well, let's take a look at 18 to 24-year-olds who voted for Donald Trump. That is, voters under the age of 25. Look at this. In 2016, it was just 34%. Jump ahead to 2020, it was just 31%. But look in this past presidential election in 2024. Donald Trump's percentage of voters under the age of 25 jumped all the way up to 43% of the vote. Indeed, when you compare his percentage of the vote with that of Kamala Harris's, and we look at the margin, we can say that Trump had the best performance for any Republican nominee for president this entire century among.
And you think about that. This is just the first point. He always has 3 points. But Charlie had this way of communicating and connecting with people, just not communicating, but genuinely connecting. And one of the beautiful things that I've really come to enjoy is talking to somebody who knew of Charlie, but really didn't start watching any of his videos until, unfortunately, he was taken from us. And people are like, he's really got some good points there. And the truth is they can't have this continuing to go on across the campuses of colleges. Those are prime Democrat voters that need to be cultivated and harvested and nurtured. You can't have any disagreement of thought there. You must agree with the leftist narrative that's being taught, the dogma that's being taught in our public universities, and private ones too. And the beautiful thing about, well, we'll get to it just a second. I don't want to jump ahead of the cart here.
Among voters under the age of 25. Now, when we dig into the numbers a little bit deeper, we can see even more of the influence of Charlie Kirk. What are we talking about? Well, let's take a look at males under the age of 25. That is age 18 to 24-year-old males, presidential margin. You go back to 2016, Hillary Clinton easily won that vote by 11 points. You jump ahead to 2020, you can see Joe Biden nearly doubled Clinton's margin, won it by an even larger margin. Look at this, a 20-point win for Joe Biden. But look at this past presidential election. Donald Trump actually won males under the age of 25. He won them by 3 points. And in doing so, became the first Republican nominee for president to win males under the age of 25 this entire century. Now, one of the reasons.
It's incredible. Imagine if Charlie would have been able to continue. The trajectory would have been incredible. But we have to live in the real world. And the great thing is that with the 18 to 32,000 new chapters, hundreds of new people signing up into Turning Point USA. I'm getting numbers from Ole Miss that are really exciting. As many as 400 new people at Ole Miss signing up for Turning Point USA just over the weekend. That's incredible. This is going to afford the opportunity for somebody to step up. If I'm being truthful, this is my opinion again. I think Charlie was the one who really took over for Rush. And it didn't happen right away. It took a little bit of time, and their styles are completely different. But that's really where conservative radio kind of flowed to if you're going on the national scale. And now there's going to be a change again. And there's lots and lots of people who are eloquent and bright and smart and witty. And it just won't be one person who takes over that spot. It'll be a bunch of people. But the thing that is so beautiful about Charlie Kirk's movement is that he made it to where more and more people could build up and be promoted and become state reps, become county board supervisors, become involved locally, not just politically, but in their faith and in their values too. Let's finish this one off.
That Donald Trump was so successful among younger voters was because of advice given to him by Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk said, bypass the traditional media, go straight on the podcast, talk to younger voters where they are. Indeed, that was one heck of a good piece of advice, because get this, where Generation Z prefers to get its news, only 8% prefer to get it on television. Look at digital, though. We're talking social media, we're talking podcasts, etc. 86% of Generation Z prefers to get its news through digital media. So that advice that Charlie Kirk gave to Donald Trump to bypass the tradition.
You know, when President Trump went on Joe Rogan, that was pretty much the end. We knew Kamala couldn't get on there. Her brain would just melt. And it was Charlie Kirk's idea with that. And then people wonder why so many conservatives want a podcast. They want to be online. That's why Clay streams. That's why I stream. That's why Lindsay streams. It's because we want to have those touches. And I have no grand delusions or aspirations to be a national talk show radio host. I just love being in Mississippi. And if we can just do something here in Mississippi, that'd be great. It won't be me, but you know what? I know that I know for a fact that I have Gen Zers and younger out there who sit there and listen into what I'm saying. And if I can motivate them to get involved spiritually and politically, man, what is that going to do for us? How's that going to bode for Mississippi in the future? But it's not just Andrew Gosser. It's people like Dan Carr and Chris McDaniel, conservatives out there who have a voice, and people are picking up on it. Now, we can't get so grandiose that we think we're going to win statewide and congressional level races. Not going to happen unless Uncle Elon comes in and drops 10 mil on a candidate. Well, then all bets are off and anything is possible. Let's finish this one up.
Traditional media to reach out to younger voters. It was a really smart piece of advice. Of course, it wasn't Kirk merely advising Donald Trump to bypass the traditional media to reach out to younger voters. Charlie Kirk did it himself, right? Of course, we've seen all those campus rallies that he did, engaging with younger voters there. But of course, it was also on podcasts, on digital, where Charlie Kirk was engaging with younger voters. So get this, the Charlie Kirk Show podcast ranking, well, this past quarter, it ranked in the top 10 in news, ranked in the top 10. So it wasn't just that Charlie Kirk was advising Donald Trump. It was, of course, that Charlie Kirk was meeting the younger voters where they were and trying to persuade them to his side of the aisle. And based upon the 2024 election results, I think we could say that Charlie Kirk was quite successful.
And the point there is that while they went to Charlie Kirk for news, we have to figure out how we continue to build upon that. It's part of it with JD Vance being on the show today, guest hosting. You'll be able to listen to that today at 2 o'clock on WYAB. It's an incredible void that has been left, but at the same time, there's an incredible opportunity to fill it as well. And we as conservatives, we as Christian conservatives should not be afraid to go fill that void. Like Brother Rod Aguilar says, it's easy inside the four walls of the church. Go out to the highways and the hedges. Charlie Kirk bring a completely new demographic into conservatism, and it would just be a shame if we just let that go away. And I'm not pretending to know the answers to everything like that, but I do know that there are ways ahead. And I am very grateful and very thankful that Miss Erica Kirk, came out and addressed the nation. And there's a whole biblical story behind that too. People don't realize it yet, but those of us who see it, we know it. And if you think Turning Point USA was going away, if you think you could just shut up Charlie Kirk, you are sadly mistaken. And there is a great reckoning that's coming. It's not going to be violent, but you are going to see a political shift of enormous magnitude. And I'm all for it. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Hey, we're in a commercial. Can you hold on a minute?
Yes.
All right. Hang in there.
Flexed all resources the FBI had and surged multiple air assets as soon as this shooting occurred. We were cycling in agents, evidence response technicians, team hostage. Hey, we're in a commercial. Can you hold on a minute? Yeah. All right. Hold on a minute. Yeah. All right.
And we are back on the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. Caller, you there?
Andrew, how are you today, buddy?
I am wonderful and blessed. How you doing, my friend?
Well, I got more questions than I've got answers, and I know that we have to be patient and trust the process. I'm curious as to at what point in time do we start getting some answers for just some basic questions. I'm sure that you, like a lot of us, have seen video of this guy shimmying down from the roof, and then he takes off. And we're all asking the same question. Where's the gun? If this gun was in a backpack, then it had to break down. I'm not familiar with a Mauser that you can break down that fast. If the gun is in his pants, there's no way he hopped off the roof with a gun in his pants, and there's no way he ran off with a gun in his pants. We don't see anything that looks like a gun wrapped in a towel in his hand. There's nothing sticking up or protruding. Where's the gun?
I would have to look at the video and I haven't looked at it in the last day and a half, 2 days, but when the video of him jumping off the roof, there appears as though there's something that he's holding on to. And I feel that that's probably the gun. The truth of the matter is, and this is just my opinion, brother, is that people are wanting 100% certainty, and we're going to get 99% certainty. And there's always going to be that 1%. Could it have been placed somewhere else? Is it not? I think those are fair questions too, dude. They need to show pictures of the gun, how it broke down. They need to explain all of that. I think you're asking very fair questions. It's not unreasonable. And we all know that the mainstream media lies and that there are other dark forces out there. But I'm ready to give Cash some more time.
Sure. Well, I think Cash has been sabotaged internally, and then the media is going to use this to divide or split up the base around him as much as possible. They want to try to make him look like a buffoon in the media, like they have with anything and everything. I think he's in a really tough spot with what to divulge and when. So I've got another question regarding the gun. So they told us about, at least this is my understanding, there was an inscription on 3 unspent rounds. Okay, what was on the one that was spent?
I can Google that, actually. I think I can.
I don't think they told us anything about the inscription on a 4th one. It was just my understanding they told us about the inscription on the ones that were not spent. So just thought that was odd.
I will look that up because I know that the casing on the spent bullet was inside the gun when they found it.
Yeah.
And some people, if you remember when the leak came out, they said that it was trans related, but it was actually more furry related and talking about a video game with up, down, down, whatever. And I don't have that.
That's actually a bomb code. I ran across that either yesterday or day before yesterday. So it's almost like if you've got a Xbox control in your hand, that's the code for dropping the bomb that does the most damage. Something along those lines.
Sir, you know more than me. Like I was telling everybody, I specifically tried to stay away from the news this weekend. I tried to decompress a little bit, but I do think they'll come out with pictures of the weapon, the towel, where they found it. Unless our FBI is just so completely inept, that they took pictures when they found it. They've got all that figured out. When to release it, I don't know. I'm not a law enforcement officer, but I wouldn't want to reveal too much to let the defense somehow have this man, strengthen his case and weaken our prosecution. So I'm okay with that.
Andrew, I want to give you one more theory. I've not heard this.
Yes, sir.
I've always been one to try to gather information go to the right, glean everything, go to the left, look at what they're saying, and then it's time to go way up and let's look at the big picture. So this guy came from a conservative family.
Mm-hmm.
He, according to an anonymous classmate, when he was 16, was already combative and on his way to the left.
Yep.
This was according to what the anonymous schoolmate says. So at 16, so by the time he's a sophomore? Okay, so the left wants to talk about this Trump costume. That Trump costume was making fun of Trump.
Yes, it was.
He was riding him.
Oh,
I mean, come on now. And we all know the MAGA shirt is just AI generated. It's crap.
yeah. What was really funny about that, Brother Bruce, was that people like Harry Sisson, who is a left-wing influencer, if you will, was trying to say that this was a Trump costume. And if you watch the mainstream media for like the first 2 or 3 hours, that's all they ran with. And then
it was a Trump costume, but it was a Trump costume making fun of Trump.
Yes, and as soon as
the part they're missing out on.
I agree, but if you watch the metrics of it on the internet, you watched how people were like, yes, it is a Trump costume, but yes, it is negative in life. It's not portraying him positively. And then taking what you said, where the family is very conservative. The father's like a 26 or 27-year sheriff. They sit there and they try to spin that and manipulate that narrative. And that's why, quite frankly, WYAB and conservative talk radio are so good.
And let me say this, because I know you're running out of time, but
Take your time.
Where I'm trying to go with it. So his roommate was very quick, supposedly, to comply and help. Okay?
Yep.
This had been planned out for a while. I don't believe that there was any bond or romantic interest as far as deep feelings between him and his roommate, significant other, whatever. This person cashed him out almost ASAP.
You say that, but what I would say is that there are other sources that are saying that they were, for lack of a better word, romantically involved, and that things change really quickly once you start getting interrogated, especially professionally. And
I think this guy got played. I think he got set up. I think he was emotionally manipulated. I think he was whipped into a frenzy on all sides, and they thought nothing of his expendability once this happened.
Yep.
They're not rallying around him. They threw him under the bus as fast as they could throw him under, and everything they're deleting is what implicates them. Just saying. That's where I'm at. And it's very sad.
It is.
Everything that his parents are going through,
oh my gosh,
specifically his dad, oh my gosh, that's the worst of the worst. I can't imagine how he's feeling.
It's absolutely brutal to be a parent and have to go through something like that. And literally, I know this is sounding cliche, but seriously, prayers for that family, because this is just getting started. With the comments that the Utah governor made, it's gonna, I mean, Bruce, this is how I feel, and you tell me what you think, and then we got to run. But I think they are going to make this, they're going to use this energy and just make it the biggest story, and they're just going to amp it up and keep making it more louder, more crazy, just more salacious. And we got to keep our eye on this, but what are they doing over here that we're not watching right now?
Yes.
And that's how I feel about this. It's horrible. And just every time I think they get it to the top, it's like, wait, here, watch this. And it's horrible, man.
The shiny object is always a distraction. This one is horrible.
Yep.
But yes, you're right. What are they doing?
I agree with you, brother. Hey, my brother, I got to run. I got to take a break.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, Andrew. Godspeed, sir.
Appreciate you too, Bruce. And everybody, that was Bruce Bartlett from iGear Optical. And if you're looking for a pair of glasses, always hook up my friend Bruce. He's right there in Pearl. He's a great man. He's a great patriot. He runs a local business, helping Mississippians out for a long time now. It'd be awesome If you need some glasses, go over there and give him some business. I'm sure he would appreciate it. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9. 2 hours goes by so quick. It is breathtakingly how quick it is. Brother Bruce, I looked up the notices or the etchings on the bullets. The inscription on the one recovered fired casing said notices, bulges, and then capital O, little w, capital O, which is some type of furry craziness. So that was the other one. And then the other three were, hey, fascist, catch, followed by the up arrow, right arrow, down, 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 whatever. Then another one was, if you were reading this, you are gay, LAMAO. Again, that's on the casing of the bullet. And then the other one was, oh, Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao, Ciao Ciao, which is the Antifa song. This guy is actually linked to Antifa. I didn't even get to talk about that today. But that's a whole nother part of the story that we've got to get to. And then Chip Matthews, who's on from 6 to 7 every day on WYAB, he kind of had an answer of how this guy turned so quickly. And he's just like the reward money. You know, the FBI put out $100,000 for it. And then, you know, didn't somebody else throw in privately like 25,000? So that could be a motive as to why this guy rolled over, you know, so quickly. But it's just tragic. It's just sad. It just goes to show you that this didn't happen overnight. This didn't even start happening since like 2020. This goes back years and years and years. Like you said, you know, when he was 16, I think 16, you're either a sophomore or junior in high school. It's been a while. I don't remember. I'm sure some people will remind me here shortly. But you know, the bottom line is this is so embattled into our culture right now. It's literally going to take a generation, maybe two, to get this thing turned around, man. Because it's sad that such a statistical sampling, you know, it's a major sampling, are feeling so lost and so helpless. They can't express their anger and their frustrations, that they have to take to violence, that they've been cultivated into this. And that's the beautiful thing about what Charlie's done with all of this, is he's turned it back towards God, because there's not one human walking on this earth. It ain't Trump, it ain't Putin, it ain't Xi, it ain't Starmer, it ain't anybody. There is no person on this earth who can fix this, but God can. And like I was saying earlier, and I'm telling you, pastors out there, you're going to see these kids start showing up in church. And some of them might have gone through some real craziness. And we've got to be ready to love on these people and let them know that they are valued, and that they are cherished, and that they are in the image of God. Because if we don't, it's just going to get brutally worse and worse and worse. And it's just one of those things where I feel like we don't spend enough time just telling our kids how much we love them. We don't spend enough time telling our spouses how much we love them, our friends, our brothers and sisters in Christ. You never know what's going to happen. And the moment that we start valuing life a lot more than we are, that life starts at conception and goes all the way to natural death, the better off our society is going to be. And I'm working on it. I'm promising you, I'm working on it. I'm trying to put together all the documents from when our country was founded, and try to show people just how much of a conservative Christian country that this country was actually when we founded it. It's breathtaking. It's staggering. I did a whole study on it a while back. I had a bunch of comments, but it's going to have to wait for another day. Take care, everybody. Be blessed.